Good evening. Good evening. I think we're ready to get started. My name is Martha Winslow, and I am the leader of St. Croix Valley Indivisible, and I am here to be your moderator tonight. So I don't want to speak a lot, but I want to just set the stage about what we're here about today, and then we'll have several speakers at the press conference. So we're here because there are credible reports of an ICE detention center in Woodbury. Now, there had been rumors about a location. Mayor Burt just today has put out a statement on the city's website saying, no, it's not going to be there. But that does not preclude the fact that ICE may have their intentions to come to Woodbury. So we're here to have a press conference. And really, what we're about tonight is to say we are a group of concerned citizens that do not want an ICE detention center in Woodbury in Washington County. We don't want that. And I'm sure many of you know this, but ICE is here. I mean, we know ICE is in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and that's gotten a lot of attention, both in Minnesota press and media and at the national level. But it is true that they are here. You probably all have heard reports about ICE creeping around in Stillwater and in Woodbury and in Lake Elmo, and so they are here. So the purpose of this press conference is to give you access to some elected officials and a community member to talk about tonight's action over at the City Council. So first speaker is Amanda Hemmingson-Yeager from Senate District 47. And Senate District 47 is Woodbury plus a sliver of Maplewood. Welcome.
Good evening. Like she said, I'm Amanda Hemmingson-Yeager. I am the senator for Senate District 47, which yes includes South Maplewood and all of Woodbury. I just want to start out by saying thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for everything you are doing to help this community, no matter how small, how big, how personal, how public. You are helping, and I am so proud and so blessed to be a part of this community. I want to say thank you to Indivisible for helping organize this, and thank you, Martha, for the lovely introductions. I'm also grateful that you're here so that our voices can be heard. In this community, we stand by our values, and that includes affordable access to health care, safe school for our kids, and a protected environment for generations to come. Our values do not include abducting neighbors, and they do not include using force and fear to further a political agenda. Your presence here, social media posts, and outreach shows me that our values mean something. And people matter, our neighbors matter, Woodbury matters. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I gotta be honest, I don't recognize today's world. We are experiencing events that should never happen. We have a group of government agents who are not abiding by the laws that make us a free people. And over the course of only a few weeks, I have seen and heard stories from people in the community who are afraid to leave their homes, go to healthcare appointments, send their kids to school, be unlawfully detained, be detained despite having a rare genetic disorder, and marriages split apart because they can't be together in this country. And these people, they're just looking out for their neighbors. And it's gotten so bad that people are even getting murdered. Renee Good should be here today. And we all see it. Our democracy is in trouble, and somehow Woodbury's in the thick of it. And in more of my thinking, I think about how much I looked up to Melissa Hortman, who was murdered alongside her husband Mark and her dog by a masked gunman pretending to be law enforcement. During really hard times in the house, I remember her talking sometimes about how it gets really dark, but the light will come. And when I look into this crowd, I see light. And when I hear of students protesting at Woodbury High School, at the Math and Science Academy, at the Capitol today, I see light. And when I know that our neighbors are being brave by recording injustices, watching over their neighbors, bringing supplies to families, I see light. So it's interesting because Woodburyans, we don't like to draw attention to ourselves. We do our own thing. And in the past 3 years that I've been your elected legislator, I think Woodburyans are protectors. We protect our environment. That is very true. We protect our kids. And now we must protect one another in this community. So as I close, please remember to stay peaceful. Don't give these bullies what they want. Be kind and look out for one another and know your rights. Thank you and stay safe.
Thank you, Senator. I should have said when I was up here earlier that if there are members of the media that have questions, we'll take those at the end after all of the speakers. So up next is Washington County Commissioner Michelle Clausen. She is from District 5, which is most of Woodbury. There's a few little corners that are cut out of her district.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me to talk today. I'm really excited to see as many faces as I am and the posters. It's been a hard time being an elected official during this unrest, not knowing exactly how to help people, what to say, what to even put on a social media post. And so I wanted to talk about the story of how the ICE Detention Center came about so that everybody understands how important it is to have transparency and to communicate. The Washington Post article came out on Christmas Eve, and I received a call from a friend, Dawn, and she was very concerned about an article that came out. I read it, and at first, I can tell you I wasn't concerned. I was like, well, that can't happen. I mean, if that happened, that couldn't happen, right? And so as I kept looking into it, there's just this part of me that has to investigate things. I'm just so curious. I had to reach out to the reporter from Washington Post. And how I did that was through Signal, because that's apparently how we all communicate, even the President of the United States. And I received word that this information that they had was more concerning. And as I listened to him speak about it, I realized that there was something that I had heard from the City Council in the past, and that was, we can't do anything if a building or if a developer wants to come in and build. I have a background as a municipal city clerk and experienced hours and hours and hours of city meetings and feel like I could teach a class on planning and zoning. And so for me, I immediately went to the Woodbury city codes and read them. And I did a social media post on the public process and what happens if somebody does want to develop in the city and they needed to put in a building permit for changes, because this warehouse would need a lot of changes, which would require variances and would require public hearings. The response I got from the social media post was eye-opening. It went viral because nobody had heard anything from the city of Woodbury. They had not responded, and to be frank, I didn't know what was happening. So I was asked to take that post down by a city official. Then I was asked to take the post down by a county official. And then I got more curious. I was told that I was giving false hope. I don't know what that is. My husband told me it's because you gave hope. So if that's what I'm doing, then I'm just going to be teaching a class on planning and zoning to everybody. So what resulted in Indivisible came to the rescue, really. I talked to Dawn about it, and as soon as she heard, my goodness, I asked for attendance on a county board meeting, and I asked at that meeting for them to do a letter to our delegates asking the questions. What is happening? Why would we allow something like this? This is a building that we get $770,000 from every year. Where is that money gonna come from? If it's tax exempt, we're not getting anything. Now, because I worked at the city of Falcon Heights, and I know because 2/3 of their city are tax exempt, and it struggles for the residents to have to pay for that. And so I know that because of your response, we got statements from the city. I know that. And also, from your response, the county board acted. That was you. The emails that I've received are so moving, and the testimony that we heard on Tuesday's meeting made me realize how much we need each other. And that when we were able to do that open forum and we were able to talk to each other, it felt like hope. And you know, that's what staff told me after that meeting, is man, everyone said they felt more hopeful knowing that people were fighting for them. And I said to that person, yeah, because hope isn't false. We need to stay curious. We need to stay involved. We need to stay together. We need to stay communicating. We need more Dawns. We need more indivisible liberty, or what is it? Indivisible democracy. I did it wrong, sorry. I always get them wrong. We need more of you just showing up today. With the flag and the posters and everything, it's very moving, and it's exactly what we need in Woodbury. So thank you so much. Thank you for making me feel like I'm supported, and thank you for being here today.
So I think what the commissioner was referring to was a chant that I spoke of when I spoke in front of the Washington County Commissioner meeting, and I acknowledge that this is my favorite chant when I go to rallies, and it is, show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. All right, moving on. So our third speaker is Tim Wegner, and he is a member of Indivisible Twin Cities and a Woodbury resident.
Thank you, Martha. As she mentioned, I'm a member of Indivisible Twin Cities, but we partnered with St. Croix Indivisible and Afton Indivisible to make this all happen. And so I want to thank all of the organizations for being part of this. I want to thank Senator Hemmingson-Yager, Commissioner Clausen. Also, Shelley Buck is here, and she's the candidate in 47A in the special election coming up at the end of January. I appreciate your support in being here as well. I think it's great that the City Council and the Mayor made a statement today. It's because of all of you, as you've heard. I want to thank all of you for being here. This doesn't happen without the community making their voices heard and making their opinions known. And I think what we're learning here every single day is that we have power, especially when we come together and we're dedicated to using it. And we're seeing that here tonight, and I think we're seeing it across Minneapolis, in the Twin Cities, and across the state of Minnesota. And I would just encourage everybody to keep it up. I'm a resident of Woodbury. My wife and I chose to be here because Woodbury was the kind of place that makes room for everybody. when we arrived, we were welcomed. We were welcomed by neighbors, by local businesses, and by a community that takes pride in being open, decent, and humane. That matters. It's not an abstract value. It's how a city feels when you live in it. And it's how a city defines itself. And that's why I'm here tonight, and I think that's why everybody's here tonight. You know, the possibility of an ICE detention center being built in Woodbury is deeply at odds with who we are as a community. Residents across this city have been clear from the start. This is not something we want in our neighborhoods. It's not something that reflects our values. And so I want to be very clear about what we're asking the mayor and the city council. We're not asking them to panic and run around and do things. We're not asking for symbolic statements after the fact. We're simply asking for leadership. Too often cities wait until a project like this is far along and they say then, our hands are tied. By then, decisions have been made by someone else or have been made somewhere else, and by being reactive, it's just simply not enough. If there's even a possibility, even today after the statement from the mayor, that this could happen in Woodbury, the time to act is now. Before momentum builds, before contracts are signed, before the community's told, well, it's too late, we can't do anything. The mayor and the city council, they have tools. They have authority. They can ask hard questions. They can scrutinize zoning. They can scrutinize permitting and land use. And they can make clear to anybody, anywhere, that this city will not allow this kind of thing in Woodbury. At the core of this, we're asking the city council and the mayor to use every lawful tool at their disposal to ensure that a detention center never becomes part of Woodbury's future at all. It's about representation. City council members and the mayor are elected to reflect the will and the values of the people in the community. And on that issue, we're all speaking very plainly and very clearly. We don't want a detention center, not now, not ever. We don't want ICE in our community. The fact that they're driving around and abducting people from cars in Woodbury, in Minnesota, it's atrocious. And I see I think it's Ryan's wife who's here, Ryan Eklund, who's a Woodbury resident. It happened to him this week. He's a US citizen. He was driving his car. And they pulled him over and they pulled him out of his car and they detained him for 10 hours. That's not America. That's not the rule of law. That's not something that any of us are willing to put up with in Woodbury or anywhere else in the state of Minnesota or anywhere else in the country. So tonight, I'd invite all of you to come from here over to the city council meeting and make your voices heard. The signs, the banners, the flags, everything. Please come with us over there tonight. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to assume good intentions for the time being. I believe the council and the mayor want what's right for Woodbury. And right now, what's right for Woodbury is acting proactively to demonstrate their commitment to this community. They need to stand with their residents. They need to represent their residents the way the residents want to be represented. So again, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for taking your time out of busy schedules. Thank you for caring. I know this is a scary time. It's a scary time for everybody. What I will tell you is that our strength doesn't come from, well, our strength comes from our unity. Our strength comes from our numbers. Our strength comes from our support for each other. That's how we get through this. The only way through this is forward. And it's just so, I don't know, it lifts me up to see this many people here tonight walking side by side, shoulder to shoulder with each other and making sure that we keep Woodbury the place that we want it to be. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tim. So I think that there are some members of the media here, and we would be willing to answer some questions if any of those people have questions. If you have got a question, it'd be helpful to know who you'd like to direct it to as well.
Just a quick question. I'm Channel 9, prior to the planning and zoning expert. I think she was the second to speak.
Commissioner Clausen.
Commissioner Clausen.
I'm just curious, in Washington County, what options you have in terms of zoning, moratoriums, things like that, and do you have a sense of what the county may do?
So the county doesn't have authority over planning and zoning, so the authority goes to the city. And that's why it's so important for the city to have that statement that was done today, because it shows that they're really willing to listen to constituents and act in what we're asking for, which is to make sure that they don't go there at that particular facility.
Is there a different type of zoning for detention facilities? I mean, I know if you're residential, you're commercial.
You know, that use doesn't seem to be a term that's used. It's an interesting one if you look at how that's defined, detention, and if that means that they have some special privilege. I don't know that I've seen anything like that. I've never experienced the federal government just, telling us they're going to take a warehouse. So I don't know. And we also don't know if it's true either. So it's still considered a rumor.
Hi, I'm with the Pioneer Press. This is a question for anyone who spoke, but have any of you talked to any city leaders or city council members about this matter, and have they said anything that stuck to you? Commissioner, I know you said some things, but I'm curious whether it's hopeful or anything.
One of the council members told me to take down the post. So I would say yes and no. I have reached out. The mayor's didn't know that I was asked to remove the post. I don't know. And I think that's the problem, is that there hasn't been a lot of communication, and when it has been, it's been, we still have more questions than answers, I think.
Where is the city tonight?
Let's see, is there anybody representing the city here today?
There's a city workshop right now.
Oh, there's a city workshop, I think.
Yeah. So this is separate from the city council meeting. This is a press conference. And right now, the city is the elected officials from the city are going about their city business. At 5:30, they had a workshop to discuss something that's on their agenda, and at 7:30, they will have their meeting. So it's not surprising to me that there's no city officials here. The place to engage with the city officials is going to be at the city council meeting, and the people who are members of the media know better than I know how to get the attention of elected officials either before or after a meeting, but I encourage you to do that if you have questions. Amanda.
I've been able to have some conversations with Mayor Burt. I will say what has been really effective, and this has been my past experience as well, is, again, hearing from the community, seeing you guys show up, hearing your voices. And it is through those stories that I was able to help convince Mayor Burt to open up the city council meeting a little bit more tonight to hear more voices. I don't know if anybody remembers when the gold line was kind of going on and we weren't sure what's happening. The community got together, did a letter writing campaign, showed up at that meeting, and it was like instantaneously, city council was like, gold line's a great idea. We must have the gold line in Woodbury. We support the gold line because the people support it. They want to represent you. We need to remind them how to do that.
And are there other questions? Yes.
Woodbury Newsnet for Amanda. I know, to my knowledge, the first time the city actually addressed the specific address to the location. Before they previously mentioned it as the Hudson Road location, and they quickly shut it down with this specific location. When's the first time you heard about this address, and are there any other rumored sites that you may possibly know of?
Time is kind of a blur right now, so I can't point to an exact date, but it was before Christmas. It was in December. I think I saw it rumored, someone gave it to me, and it was this Reddit thread. And then as you read the comments, it didn't sound like it was very substantiated, but again, I'm curious, I'm a scientist. I kept tabs on it just in case it would pop up again, and then the Washington Post article came out kind of naming the actual address. So that's kind of the sequence of events that happened for my
No,
knowledge.
they didn't name it.
Oh, they didn't name it?
No.
Okay.
The Washington Post reporter never knew the location and saw the Reddit, and then they thought they're,
That then.
yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, because I would do a timeline, because I want to know how this came about. I really do. I'm curious.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification.
Are there any other rumored locations that you possibly know of then?
Not to my knowledge, but we're going to keep our eyes and ears open.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Oh,
There's so many warehouse, big buildings east of Woodbury. Does somebody want to know those addresses, or how do we make sure it's not something beyond one up on Hudson Road?
yeah. Do you want me?
That is a great question, and I'm glad that you're kind of thinking beyond what's just been named. I have been asking those questions as well, and talking with the city and talking with the city staff to make sure we're thinking creatively. This is an organization that is not abiding by laws, and we need to be smarter, and we need to be thinking creatively on how we can keep them out of Woodbury. My understanding is that city staff is looking at other potential locations, like what was unique about this specific site that would be attractive at other sites, and kind of just making sure they have a finger on the pulse and talking to other business owners, just being open to what could happen. So, but that doesn't mean that you can't continue to ask those questions, continue to be, a thorn on their side, and continue to ask because this is important to us.
Real quick, because you're at the state level, do you worry about if Woodbury is successful, that it just gets pushed off to another community? I mean, are you looking at this at all come a couple weeks when the legislature gets together about, is there something that you can do on a statewide level?
I'm sure there are. Again, we're going to be really having to think of creative solutions. I do worry that if it doesn't work here, they'll just move on somewhere else, and that is a concern for me too. This doesn't belong anywhere in any community in Minnesota. And again, we just need to be creative, and if it does go to another municipality, I'm concerned that they're working on it over here, but they're working on other stuff that we might not know about over there. And that is where the relationships come across cities, across counties, across us other state elected officials. We can take what we've learned, we can talk to each other. You can talk to your neighbors in other communities and say, hey, this is what worked for my community. And we can all be together and make sure that we are unified and standing tall for our values and making sure that we are heard and we're saying no. Okay.
Is it clear that if the city and the county don't want a detention center in the city or county, that that's the end of it, or can the federal government just ram it down our throats?
Do you know? I have an answer.
Our indivisible groups did a bit of research as we were preparing for this, and there is some evidence that, and I won't quote all of it because I don't know it all off the top of my head, but there is some evidence that the federal government can just come in and say, no, we're the federal government, and we've got, I don't know, eminent domain maybe isn't quite the right word, but that sort of thing. It's sort of like, our rules trump your rules, and you may think that this is the way you do things here, but we're the federal government, and we can just do what we want. And what we found that there were court cases where that was upheld. So we do run risks like that.
No reason to give up, though.
Yeah,
I mean, because we always can buy a building, right? So I'm always like, yeah, well, we could buy it. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm all about all of us having our voice and speaking up and pushing back to the greatest extent that we can. I'm a bit of a realist, so that's why I said what I said, but it still is absolutely important for us to stand up. So let me just transition to talking about what's happening then this evening. So the reason that we're doing this whole media conference is because there's a city council meeting at 7:30. And at 7:30, it's over in City Hall. It's not very far from here. It's sort of around the corner on Valley Creek. And so I encourage you to go over there, to be there at 7:30. I looked at their agenda this afternoon, and they have on their agenda 2 places where it seems like it's possible for people to speak, and I don't quite really understand. Typically what the city has on their agenda is a time towards the beginning of the meeting that they call an open forum. And the way the city of Woodbury works it is they allow up to 3 people to speak on whatever subject that they want to speak about for 3 minutes. That's what their rules are. So those are the rules that apply. So it's not like a lot of people can speak, 3 people can speak, a lot of people can go. Then what was interesting is if you look at the agenda, there's a second time at the end of the meeting where there is something called an open hearing, and there's no specific subject, and that also says that people can speak for 3 minutes. So I think we don't really know how the agenda is going to go. So what I suggest is we all just go over there and we go to the city council chamber. I'm sure, I've not been to a Woodbury city council member. I don't live in Woodbury, I live in Washington County. So I haven't been to a city meeting. I'm sure there must be a card that you can fill out if you're gonna speak. So you'd fill out a card and you turn that in, and then we'll just see when the time is that people are able to speak. So that's what I understand about how things are gonna go. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for being interested in this issue and being willing to stand up and have your voices be heard. Thank you. I guess we've got a couple more questions. Yes, sir.
I have an idea and I have a question. My idea is, I used to work in medical devices, and one regulation that the FDA and many regulatory agencies around the world would use is unannounced inspections. So if an unannounced inspection could be worked into a conditional use, and that the things that would be inspected for are humane treatment, legal contact with families, medical care if needed. You create a long list of things, and they're enforceable. They would be inspected for. I think anybody who would get wind of that would go, maybe we don't want to locate here. Now, I don't know to what authority or power the city or county would have for that in a negotiation, but I think it could potentially be a way to scare off anybody, because the building owner is going to have to contend with that, I think. So
Yeah.
that's one idea that I have. The second thing is, to me, this is really a moral question. And I had a lengthy exchange with one of the city council members that was really disappointing to me, because this person was not willing to take a stand. They were not, they were citing, taxpayers this, and we haven't seen a proposal, and all of this equivocation and evasion. And to me, it's a moral question. It would be like, city council, should we throw people off tall buildings for jaywalking? Well, of course not. Would you be willing to take a position on that publicly? Well, sure. Well, why can't you do that with this? So
Yes.
they need to take a position.
They do. They need to take a position, and they need to take it now in advance. They need to be proactive.
Because it's,
And that's why we're gonna go there tonight.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Point well taken. This is not like, oh, well, let's wait and see if we get a proposal, and if somebody puts in a building permit, then we'll decide whether we're gonna let that come in. We need proactive stance that says, we do not want an ICE detention center. Beyond that, we also need statements from the city that would say, we're not gonna work with ICE, that, we're not gonna sign any 287G agreements, those sorts of things. We're asking them to be proactive. That's why we're there. That's why we're here, is we're saying, take a stance. And we all are saying, as residents of this community, that we want you to take a stance, because we are against ICE. Thank you. Okay.
There's one more.
Is there one more? Sorry, I can't see well because of the lights. Yes.
I agree with all this. We have to do what we can do. Government is overriding everything.
I'm sorry, I can't hear that well.
I understand that we need to, from the bottom up, do everything we can. But the federal government is overriding and letting all this happen.
Yes, what she's
I
saying
still
is,
have to do what
we have to stand up, but the federal government can override. That's true. And right now, we are living in an authoritarian regime, so we can expect that to happen. Whether that happens here, I don't know, but that is going to happen in some places. We need to expect that. Still, we need to stand up. This is a democracy. Democracy, we're going to get really, really good at it, because when we overthrow the Trump regime, we want to build a really great democracy.
I was wondering also, obviously the detention center is something in the future, but as of right now, our residents are being terrorized by ICE. They're staying in our hotels, they're eating in our restaurants, they're lurking around our communities, and they're abducting our neighbors. I'm wondering, is there anything we could do as a group to pressure our city council to kick them off city property when they're staging? That could be out in parks and things like that. I think we should have the ability to do that. We've talked to the police, and they said that is not something they're doing right now. Additionally, I think we should also be able to protest in our town. It is made, apparently, if we make a noise or use a instrument or use our voice and it disrupts someone, they can call the police on us and they can shut it down. So anybody within the time of the normal noise restrictions, we're not able to go to the hotels and make a sound disruption. So basically our city has no voice. They even said that whistles were against the rules. So if we're walking out and trying to use our whistles to take down make our neighbors aware of an abduction in the area, technically our police can come and arrest us for that. So please let us know if you need whistles.
Do air horns, we could do drum sets,
Nothing.
what else could we do?
They said our voices we couldn't do.
We could sing.
Those all sound to me like really good things, to go to the city council and say, we want you to change these things. That they have the power to change those ordinances. Yes.
Back in the corner there.
Is there anything with Indivisible that maybe we can set up something where we can report in weird activity if we start seeing a bunch of fencing and stuff going into warehouses or anything like that? Do we have any kind of reporting for odd activity that could be followed up on by all of us concerned citizens?
Yeah, she's asking about whether there's a process to be able to report sightings or odd things that are going on that you suspect may be ICE. And the answer is yes. I would encourage everyone in this room to take a program, a class that's called Constitutional Observer Training. And what that will allow you to understand is what you can do, and it will help you figure out how, when you observe ice, what you should do, that you should be filming with your camera, what your rights are in that situation when ice is there. And it also will let you know how to report those kinds of activities when you see them. Because there are networks, there are signal networks around that, so you can report it in, and then a dispatch would send somebody out if there's somebody in the area who's a trained observer that wants to come. It's a really important thing to learn to do, is constitutional observer training. A number of the indivisible groups are offering it, as well as other immigrant-related nonprofit groups. And there were so many videos of what happened when Renee Good was killed. The reason there were all of those videos is there were so many people in that community of Powderhorn that had been trained, and they knew, okay, it's ice, it's time to get my phone out, I'm gonna video this. And so there were just all these different angles. So I would encourage you to do that, and then you'd learn about how to do that kind of reporting. Yes?
From firsthand experience, I can tell you they will violate your rights. You need to know what your rights are once you have been detained. Should you be detained, you need to have an attorney's name, because if an attorney shows up at the detention center and you don't know their name, they won't be allowed to see you. You need to ask for a phone call. You need to ask for your rights should you be detained.
Yes,
Because they will violate your rights.
yeah, they will. And that is part of this constitutional observer training, is to emphasize all of that, so people are learning that. Yes.
Yeah, Martha, just to expand on the signal chats and constitutional observer thing, if you all picked up one of the little booklets on the way in here, there are QR codes for all three of the coordinating indivisible groups. You can always get in touch with any of us through those links. I know in Afton we're connected to, and you can connect to us, and we can hook you up with local signal chats covering Woodbury area, and specifically where you can report and discuss that kind of activity with local people in the community in a secure way. We do have groups on Facebook already, though. There is Woodbury Defense, Ice Defense, something like that out there. Defense Coalition. Sorry, we took the ice out.
All right.
Woodbury Minneapolis-St Defense Coalition.
We have a group of rapid response
You do? Okay, good.
on Signal.
Okay. So what I think we have learned from this dialogue and the questions is that there are a lot of people that are already active in this community. You need to get to know each other and get connected, and I would encourage you to do that. So thank you all for coming, and make those connections.
You just say one more thing, sorry.
Yeah. And Tim wants to say one more thing.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, and on that point, we're all having a great conversation here, and it sounds like, everybody's on the same page. But understand, ice may very well be out in that parking lot. So when you leave here tonight, it's, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's not a safe place. So just be aware of that as you leave here tonight, and as you're going around Woodbury, really, right now. Okay. So I'd love to see you all over at the council meeting next, and again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.